Hello everyone, I'm Old Dog. Today, we are going to discuss an intriguing urban legend. 70 years ago, back in 1954, a man traveled by air from Hong Kong to Japan. Upon arrival at customs, he was halted by Japanese customs officials, who suspected that he was attempting to enter Japan using counterfeit documents. It is said that his passport seemed impeccable, except for the fact that the issuing country was a non-existent nation known as the United Kingdom of Toilet. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, so let's just call it Toilet Germany. Not only have I never heard of this country, but the Japanese customs hadn't either, so they took the man into a small room. The man claimed to be John Zeiglus from the United Kingdom of Tored, saying he was on a business trip to Japan. This was his third time entering Japan that year, meaning he had already been to Japan twice. He also mentioned that he had visited many other countries, and these details were confirmed in his passport, which indeed had visas from many countries, including Japan, along with entry and exit records. Then customs asked him why he came to Japan, and he said, a member of a subsidiary of a multinational company. Our company has a branch in Taole, Germany, and I came from there to Japan on a business trip. He said that this multinational company does indeed exist, so the customs directly called the Japanese branch of this multinational company to confirm whether there was such a person coming for a meeting or something. However, the other party said they couldn't confirm that their company indeed had such a position, and they also mentioned that they don't have a branch in this so-called Taole, Germany. There is no such distribution. It is mentioned that this individual is fluent in many languages, and due to what he stated, customs were unable to verify it, so their suspicions could not be confirmed either. Consequently, customs brought out a map and requested him to indicate the location of his country. He pointed to a spot situated between France and Spain. However, he was taken aback when he examined the map. After a considerable amount of time, he informed customs that our tord is located at this spot, but it is not on your map. What you have written here is the country of Andorra. This country indeed exists at the border between France and Spain. It's a microstate with a land area of only over 400 square kilometers and a population of just 80,000 people. And this Zeiglus said that he had never heard of Andorra being in that location. It should be Tored. He said their country has a history of over 1,000 years and couldn't possibly be missing from the map. Later, customs found a bank book in his luggage, but this bank didn't exist in Japan either, nor did it resemble any known banks. This bank couldn't be found either. Please note, this incident happened 70 years ago, and at that time the internet wasn't very chaotic, so confirming something wasn't very easy. It is said that at that time the Japanese customs questioned this person for more than 8 hours. In the end, they were unable to confirm his identity. As a result, the Japanese immigration authorities made a special arrangement to accommodate him in a hotel in Tokyo and assigned 2 police officers to monitor him, which essentially meant keeping an eye on him. It is reported that after entering the hotel, he never left his room, and any meals he had were delivered to his room. He just stayed in the room and the window couldn't be opened. The police were watching at the door the whole time. Until the next morning, when people from the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs arrived at the hotel and entered the room with the police, they found that the man had disappeared, as if into thin air, since there was no other way out of the room. This is a very famous urban legend in Japan, known as the man from a non-existent country. Many people in Japan are aware of this legend, and it has sparked a lot of discussion. Some believe he came from a parallel universe. In an alternate universe, there exists a place known as Tored, Germany, along with the non-existent Andorra, situated at the border between France and Spain. For some inexplicable reason, during his flight, he transitioned into our universe. Consequently, this scenario unfolded. Subsequently, while in the hotel, he crossed back, which explains why he seemingly vanished into thin air. Although this narrative is an urban legend, it is indeed true. However, certain details have been modified to evolve into what it is presently. Initially, this event did not transpire in 1954, but rather in the year 1960. In 1960, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department apprehended a foreign national named John Zeiglus. He was detained due to suspicions of fraudulent activities. He wasn't captured while entering Tokyo, instead he was apprehended at customs. Furthermore, he entered using a passport from a place referred to as Tored. It was 3 months subsequent to his entry that he was finally caught by the police. So in October 1959, he entered Tokyo, Japan through the customs at Haneda Airport. And he wasn't alone, he was with his wife. His wife entered the country with a South Korean passport. After they arrived in Tokyo, over the next 3 months, they used checks to exchange a total of 350,000 yen at several banks in Japan. Later, one of these banks, the Tokyo branch of Chase Manhattan Bank, noticed an issue with the checks. They discovered there was an issue with the check, so they reported it to the police, and who then arrested him. They suspected the check was fake, and only after confirming his identity did they find his passport. It was quite strange, as it was from a place called Tored. When Chekris was arrested, he claimed to be a United Nations representative from Tored, and also the country's itinerant ambassador, enjoying diplomatic immunity, and demanded they release him. He said it was written on his passport that he was the itinerant ambassador of Tored. It was reported that there was indeed a line of unintelligible text in the remarks section of his passport, which looked very much like Arabic. However, it wasn't Arabic, and no one could understand it. He said this line was in Tored's own language, indicating that he was an itinerant ambassador. The meaning of a learned ambassador is a kind of special master. Generally, ambassadors are stationed in a certain country, like an ambassador stationed in Beijing or New York. However, a roving ambassador is not stationed anywhere. They represent a country while traveling to various countries, holding a special status. Due to this matter involving diplomacy, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department took it very seriously and consulted a renowned crisis management expert in Japan. The case was handled by Zuzu Chengxing, which made it very famous at the time. However, the Japanese police, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and experts and scholars had never heard of this Taole, Germany. So they found a map and asked this Zeiglus to point out the location of the country himself. He pointed to a place on the map, which is now in the southern part of Ethiopia, claiming that their country was located there. Later during the questioning process, he talked about some of his background, saying he was born in the United States and is an American. Later, he moved with his family to Czechoslovakia, Germany, the United Kingdom, and eventually settled in the UK. During World War II, he served in the Royal Air Force and was captured by Germany during the war. After the war, he moved to Central and South America. Later, as an American spy, he conducted some secret activities in South Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, and other places. He was then sent to the United Arab Republic. It's crucial to understand that this was different from today's United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Republic was a nation formed in 1958 and no longer exists. It was created by Egypt and Syria as a unified nation focused on Arab nationalism based on Pan-Arabism. The idea was that since we are all Arabs, we should form a united nation. That was the main concept at the time. The nation was founded but dissolved after a mere 3 years. During his tenure in the United Arab Republic, he was dispatched by the United Arab Republic to Eastern Africa, where he traveled to a location known as Taole, Germany, and assumed the role of ambassador for that nation. According to his account, this was the sequence of events. Essentially, he was an intelligence agent for several nations, predominantly an American intelligence agent sent to the United Arab Republic, and subsequently became an intelligence agent for the United Arab Republic assigned to Taole, Germany. In that place, he wasn't exactly secretly infiltrating, he directly became the ambassador for the other side, so he had many identities. Due to his career involving many important countries, the Japanese police at the time tried to contact these countries to verify his identity. However, these countries did not acknowledge this person as their citizen, and claimed he had no connection with their countries except for this Tord. Tord could not be contacted as it was unclear where this country was located, somewhere in the Sahara region of Africa. There is a nomadic tribe called the Tuareg, written as Tuareg, which sounds very similar to what he referred to as Tared, just with a slightly different letter order. In the end, if you add a D, they are the same. However, the Tuareg are not a country, nor do they have a unified nation. They are merely an ethnic group. Therefore, the Japanese police ultimately determined that his passport was fake, not implying that he drew the passport himself. They just couldn't find the issuing authority, so they had to assume he forged it himself. However, the Japanese police confirmed that all the visas on his passport were genuine, especially those issued in Japan. These visas were submitted for at local Japanese embassies situated in various countries or regions. This indicates that these embassies had acknowledged his passport and identity as authentic. Nevertheless, upon his arrival in Japan itself, the Japanese government did not acknowledge his passport. That's the impression. The person I mentioned earlier was arrested in 1960 and was indicted by the Tokyo District Prosecutor's Office the same year for fraud. However, because his passport was fake and no country recognized his identity, he was unable to prove his identity. Therefore, his true nationality and name were unknown, meaning who this person actually was remained unknown. If an individual's identity cannot be ascertained, logically they should not face prosecution. It is essential to know precisely who you are prosecuting. However, in this particular situation, there exists a person, but it remains unknown who exactly is being prosecuted. The Japanese government, in an attempt to streamline the matter, proceeded to prosecute him and appointed a lawyer for his defense. Nevertheless, the lawyer acknowledged that he never truly knew who he was defending. He couldn't verify the individual's identity. Ultimately, on the 10th of August 1960, the Tokyo District Court found this individual guilty and sentenced him to a term of 1 year in prison. During the sentencing process, as the judge was reading the verdict, the person suddenly took out a piece of glass in the courtroom and slashed his wrists, attempting to commit suicide. However, he was stopped by the court police, taken to the hospital for emergency treatment, and after staying in the hospital for 10 days, he was sent back to the detention center. According to Japanese criminal procedure regulations, if the court's verdict is not fully read, it is considered invalid. Consequently, this particular case required a retrial and was sent back for a new judicial proceeding, which extended the process by an additional year. In the year 1961, the individual was once more sentenced, with the outcome remaining consistent, a 1-year term of imprisonment. Nevertheless, given that he had already been detained for more than a year, he was released in court and subsequently deported. That was the essence of the punishment. Since he initially arrived in Japan on a flight originating from Hong Kong to Tokyo, he was eventually deported back to Hong Kong, and upon his arrival there, he vanished. Therefore, he did not disappear from the hotel premises. Incidentally, we discussed his wife at the beginning. She was sent back to Korea at an earlier stage. Her passport was genuine, yet they did not possess a marriage certificate, so they were only nominally a couple. They claimed they were married, but no one could verify it. Subsequently, this matter was reported by Japanese media and numerous international media outlets, and throughout this extensive reporting process, it gradually turned into that urban legend I mentioned at the beginning, right? Some magical elements were added to it. Actually, this matter might indeed be quite mysterious because this person's identity is truly a mystery. It feels a lot like those spies in movies, right? In movies, spies often have passports from various countries in their suitcases, and this person gives off that kind of vibe. He might have identities from many countries. But ultimately, no country recognized his identity, suggesting that characters like Ethan from Mission Impossible or Jason Bourne from The Bourne Identity might actually exist. So today, I shared with you an urban legend and the story behind it. See you next time.